Egypt, all of North Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, all of West Africa, except for some coastal areas, but Nigeria, Mauritania, and then the entire Horn of Africa, Somalia, the Sudan. Of course, the entire Middle East consumed in black. The entire area known as the Stans, which, as we know, because we discuss these things, Stan is Farsi for land of. The Stans are in black. The entire Indian subcontinent is in black. I think there are about 800 million Hindus who may have issue with that. And also then it stretches down into the area of Indonesia. A rather large caliphate, and it actually is essentially the full extent of Islamic conquest at any given time, taken all together. Of course, Turkey's in this as well. They don't have, interestingly enough, Spain in this, formerly called Andalusia. They don't have Spain. I'm sure they'll try to pick that up later on. They don't want to be too greedy. They just want the entire northern 50% of Africa, all of the Middle East, all of South Asia, and all of Central Eurasia, the Stan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, all of it. That's the plan, they think. And to think that this is silly and we should ignore it is to ignore history and to ignore the cycles of conquest that Islam has gone through in the past. They think this whole 20th century thing, the fall of the Ottoman Empire, its dissolution, the colonial period with the British and French, Sykes-Picot, the Balfour Declaration, these Western powers essentially carving up Muslim areas as they see fit. They think that this was just an interlude, just a little brief period of waning Islamic power, and now they're on the rebound. All they need is the proper spark. All they need is an unsinkable aircraft carrier from which to launch their jihadist invasions far afield. They believe now that Syria and Iraq, it seems, is that unsinkable aircraft carrier, is that place from which they can launch the broader invasions. And just to give you a sense of other times when we've had, let's just say, a foothold in the region, think of the damage done to the cause of freedom in the Western Hemisphere just by the state of Cuba. Now, I know now we're in this period of détente and we're going to loosen everything up. But actually, if you look back historically, Cuba was involved in countless so-called people's liberation movements, not just in the Western Hemisphere, by the way, even in places like Angola. And the Cubans were trying to export communism with their Soviet backers, of course. And they were a constant irritant and almost took us to the brink of a nuclear exchange. That was just a tiny island nation that's major export was sugar before the communists came along. Does not have the vast financial resources attendant controlling the Middle East and its oil reserves. Think about what this will do. You have to understand, they don't need to create sustainable economies. They don't, and I don't mean sustainable as in like green, like I just love these like new solar panels on my roof. They're amazing. I'm not going to drive my Prius. Bzz. No, I mean sustainable as in able to continue on, not collapse like the Soviet Union. As long as the oil pumps out of the ground in the Middle East, this caliphate can pay for itself and people will do business with it. Now, we can mock them. We can laugh at them. We can say, oh, come on, this is ridiculous. It looks like a fifth grader drew it with a black crayon, and it does. But if you look back into history and you understand how devoted to the cause these jihadists actually are, and you look at their recent gains, I think it's time to take them very seriously. And this is when you have to go beyond the tactical. We're going to send some troops. We're going to send over some trainers, and they're going to train them. And they're going to work with the locals and the governments and political solution. That's not going to be enough, President Obama. Maybe we stand back and watch this whole thing unfold. Fine. Not really sure how we think that's going to end in our favor, but maybe that is, in fact, the course we take across the board. We just say it's just not our issue. Look, there are other forces in the region that will fight. There's India will push back against Pakistan, although, of course, keep in mind that the second largest population of Muslims in the world after Indonesia, which is the largest Muslim country in the world, is the Muslim population inside of India. There are other areas that will try to put up some resistance against this caliphate, but will they be successful? Western Europe just wants to make this all go away. It's not going to be that easy. President Obama, of course, needs to come up with some kind of a strategy, some means to push back against this. This could turn into the next, really already is, they just don't have nukes yet. Just wait, though. When Pakistan falls, this thing's going to get really ugly. But this is just as we faced an existential threat with the Soviet Union and global communism. We are now entering the era of a true global caliphate, at least an effort to create that, and that will be, because of the oil wealth in the Middle East, a gigantic power with massive populations to draw upon, a tremendous amount. You think, oh, no, it's not possible for them to institute the Sharia law across all these areas. Why? Within our lifetime, it was possible for Stalin to kill millions of his own people, millions, in order to oppress them and have them do whatever the Politburo, which he commanded, have it do whatever the Central Committee decided, and then subverted countries all around the world. You think that this is impossible for an Islamic caliphate? Why? Somebody tell me why this is not possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying I want to know why they think this is something to be just ignored, derided, laughed at. Again, look, their social media campaign, it looks like they're drawing with a black crayon. Okay, fine. They're not going to draw it in black crayon. They're going to draw it in blood. And we seem in this country at this point in time to really want to bicker mostly among ourselves. Who's responsible? Bush, Cheney. Bush lied. Babies died. No more of this. We're done. Okay, fine, we're done. If that's what we're going to do, I guess that's what we're going to do. But just keep in mind that we didn't do anything to Afghanistan. In fact, we liberated Afghanistan from the Soviets. You will recall that, right? You remember that? We liberated Afghanistan. We helped them repel the Soviet menace, and then, of course, the Soviet Union soon thereafter collapsed. What was the gratitude we received? Well, an Islamist movement incubated in the northwestern portion of Pakistan, infiltrated, just like ISIS is infiltrating Iraq now from Syria, infiltrated Afghanistan, took over, became the government, oppressed the people, and then a jihadist movement from within that used the incubator of the Taliban government to launch attacks against the West, to try to cripple our economy, to try to destroy us. Keep in mind, they wanted to hijack dozens of planes. Keep in mind, they were looking for nuclear material to use against us. They gave us our best. They gave us their best sucker punch, but they wanted to do more. They wanted to do much more, and they came close to accomplishing that. You know, my generation is the 9/11 generation. Many of us, many of you listening, we answered the call because we realized at that time what the stakes were. I understand, and I sat there and I saw with my own eyes what was going on inside of Iraq, what was going on inside of Afghanistan. I know the sense of futility. I was close to those who had real loss because of this. Friends of mine died in this effort. So I understand nobody wants to become involved, and I understand that there are limitations to what our involvement could even be. But don't underestimate the threat. You must at least be aware of it, because if we wait until this comes to our doorstep, it will be too late. And this map we see of the Middle East, with the black flags of Khorasan flying all over it, it could become a reality much more quickly than we realize. This is what Obama had to say about all of this to Mika on the notion that maybe Syria should have been dealt with. Play clip 13. This is from MSNBC.
Would you have moved differently in Syria given this eruption in Iraq and given that the chaos has spilled over now?
If what you're suggesting is that there was a simple solution in Syria that would have avoided the civil war and chaos there, that's just not true. You had a ruthless dictator that started killing his own people, and you had the makings of a moderate opposition that still exists and that we still work with. I think that one of the things that the American people at least understand is that these societies are going through these enormous transformations. And what we can do is work with the best impulses there, folks who understand moderation, tolerance, are trying to deliver for their people. We're going to have to deal with some of the worst impulses there, the extremism that ISIS represents. What we're not going to be able to do is to play whack-a-mole and chase wherever extremists appear, occupy those countries for long periods of time and think somehow that we're going to solve those problems.
President Obama seems to think that telling us what we already know, giving us essentially a rundown of what's in the headlines, is somehow dealing with the problem. There's going to be good things. There's going to be bad things. There's going to be some forces in the region we want to work with. And there's going to be others that we don't want to work with. And it's going to be tough, but it's not going to be that tough. Maybe we'll do something. Maybe we won't. That doesn't cut it anymore. He's got to at least try to help us understand why is it exactly that the U.S. government now all of a sudden not only is non-interventionist, but essentially has no strategy, has no beliefs, has no principles, has nothing that it tries to forward. Where is all of the furor? Where is all of the force? And I mean rhetorical force that Obama saves for petty domestic issues that sort of upset the community organizer side of him, for ISIS, for the slaughter of Christians in this country, for the beheading of troops who are, yes, an ally. The Iraqi government is an ally. No furor, no nothing. What we see, as I told you before, is that President Obama is now presiding over a similar situation to what Jimmy Carter did. Oh, Iran wasn't our problem either. We don't even need them. And the Shah was kind of nasty, and he had this internal secret police, and they were nasty, and we don't really want to deal with them. And okay, well, now Iran's been exporting terror for the past 30 some odd years. That's what we get. See, Reagan defeated the Soviet Union. The best that Barack Obama could manage was defeating John McCain and Mitt Romney. That was really all he was capable of doing. Everything else has just been falling apart. 888-900-3393. Team Buck, if you got some thoughts before we close out today, let me know. We got Jay Severin coming up next for 3 hours. I'm sure he's going to talk to you more about this and much else on the Severin docket. Some closing thoughts on Iraq, and we'll get to more for tomorrow in just a minute.
Buck Sexton.
Taking intelligence to a whole new level.
The Blaze Radio Network.
Get your Team Buck t-shirt at theblaze.com.
Running low on time. I'll have to do Ukraine tomorrow. I know I said deep dive. There will be this week. I know I've been saying this too. There will be Commie Bear this week. He's just, we're on sort of a lockout. He gets very antsy about his contract. I have to pay him in mini vodka bottles, and it's just difficult. So, look, he's a communist. What can I say? All right, Mark from Washington, you're on the Buck Sexton Show.
Hey, Buck, I'm glad I made it through. You're doing a great show again today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I know we don't have much time. I just always sitting here thinking about how much time we spend arguing against the left's narratives and wasting those precious moments that we have that the conservatives can get out there and really press our point. I'm just thinking it'd be so great to have some think tanks on our side that are great at the, arranging this so that the left, for a change, is arguing the fact